What's up guys, Coach Nate. I'm the owner at Steel Strength Training. I have helped close to 1,000 everyday men and women change their body, health, and lifestyle. So I'm just bringing you guys my best tips, tricks, and things that I've learned from the last decade of working with clients. So one of the things I want to talk about, what we're going to talk about today is strength training for old folks, all right? So I'm going to let you define what is old. I actually think that number is pretty high, and I think it's all subjective. But I've ticked a lot of people off. I actually wrote a letter recently. You may have been a recipient. People either loved it, they thought it was funny, or they hated it. And it was something like strength training for old ladies. And as you can imagine, we got strong reactions in each direction. So I'm not going to sit here and define what old is, but if you would consider yourself old, and it's a spectrum, this could be beneficial to you, all right? So there are 5 things you want to consider when you're starting a strength training program and you're older. So the first is stimulus to recovery. We're going to break down this concept for you. The second is your recovery capacity. Third is your exercise selection. Fourth is your programming, or how you design all of your workouts in conjunction with each other. And number 5, I'll give you some of my advice. So let's talk about first the stimulus to recovery concept. This is important to understand, and this concept is true whether you're 22 or 92 or anywhere in between. You always want to find the balance between the stimulus, because the stimulus, or how hard your workouts are, for example, or how long, whatever, the intensity, the amount of stimulus, generally speaking, the more stimulus, the more results you'll get to a point, because you have to balance out with the recovery, because the greater the stimulus, the more that's screaming at your body, hey, you've got to adapt. At the same time, your body only has so much ability to recover. So we want to find the sweet spot. And now what's true, let me grab my expo, what's true is that the law of diminishing returns is true, meaning your first workout might provide you, let's say your first workout per week or your first set per week might provide you 1 unit of progress. Your second set will not provide a whole, another unit of progress. It might provide, let's say, 0.67. So if you do 2 sets or 2 workouts, whatever, just bear with me, it's just an example. You've got 1.67 units of progress here. If you do a third set or a third day, it might be 0.33. So you're still getting more progress the more sets or workouts you do each week, but it's less overall. So here it's like you do 1 workout or 1 set, you get 1 unit of progress. You do 2, you're at like 1.67. You do 3, you're at 2. And then maybe you go all the way up to 6 and you're at 2.5 total. If you're a professional athlete or you're just trying to maximize, you want to get as big and strong as you can as quickly as possible, then you want to kind of toe that line where you're doing as much as you possibly can, but you can still recover from it. All right? Because at some point, it looks like this, right? You get a lot of progress in the beginning and kind of tapers off. I'll draw it for you. You get a lot of progress, you do more sets, you get more and more and more progress, but it kind of levels off, and eventually you actually start going, it might be more gradual than that, but you actually start going down, okay? You actually start getting less progress again, okay? So if you're trying to maximize, muscle and strength, then you might want to be in the middle. But for most people that I talk to, again, even for people who are watching who are in their 20s and 30s, you can get incredible results staying farther away from this line and hanging out kind of in here. We call it like the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your results come from about 20% of your work. Now, those numbers might not be exactly right when it comes to training, but you get the idea. It's law of diminishing returns. That's why we recommend for most people, they work out 2 to 3, maybe 4 days a week. And if you're older, it's important that we remember. So it's important you understand that concept. Let's go on to point number 2, which is your recovery capacity. So there are lots of things that impact your recovery capacity, but age is certainly one of them. As you get older, you will not be able to recover from as much hard training. You'll still get a ton of benefit from strength training, and you of all people need to be doing it. Strength training, the strength and muscle and bone density become even more important as we get older, so you need to be doing it. But your recovery capacity is not that of a 20-year-old who has, maybe a part-time job and they live at home, and so they don't have financial responsibilities, they don't have a wife or a husband, they don't have kids, and they sleep 10 hours a day. That person is going to recover better than, say, somebody who's 75, who maybe sleeps 6 hours a night, and, you're whatever, like your recovery capacity, there's lots of things that affect it, but age is a big one. And that's why I actually recommend for most people, I said I wasn't going to define this, as you get older, I won't throw out a number. As you get older, I recommend shifting down towards like 3 and maybe even 2 days per week. Anybody can get really, really great life-changing results with 2 days per week. In terms of health and just generally looking good, feeling good, being strong, building muscle, 2 days a week is all anybody ever needs. Now, I'm all for people training more than that. I love training. It's been a hobby and passion of mine for many years. It's fun to train more than that, but 2 days a week is all that you truly need. But just be aware of your recovery capacity, okay? And the thing is, you probably know this, you can probably do a lot of what you did. Say you're 70 years old, you can do a lot of what you did when you were 30, but you probably can't do it and then wake up the next day and feel great. At least not as easily as you could have when you were, say, 30. And so it's just important that you're aware, like recovery capacity impacts things, okay? And it's better, in my opinion, to shy away. Don't try to push the envelope. If you're not a pro athlete, there's no point in pushing the envelope, trying to maximize gains. Your gains are gonna come over time. You're gonna get really great results, 60, 70, 80% of the results doing half the work or less than you would if you were at your max capacity, but now you don't have to worry about burnout, injury, things like that. So exercise selection. This is true for everybody, but one of our training principles is you want to choose exercises that allow you to train hard, pain-free. And this becomes increasingly important as we get older. We want to take care of your joints. I would also say, I should have put this on here, but you want to use great form on all of your exercises. Nice and controlled on the way down, a good squeeze on the way up. You probably don't want to be crazy explosive. You definitely want to be controlled on the eccentric or the lowering portion. You just want to make sure you're always in control, okay? And that's true for everybody. 20-year-olds, listen up. You would do you well to learn this. You will make better progress and stay safer, and you'll be able to train longer, but especially if you're older. And look, if an exercise is bothering a joint, don't do it. Find something else, all right? Don't be so married to any one exercise that you continue to try to fit, a square peg through a round hole. It's not gonna work. Stop trying to force it. There are plenty of exercises out there. Choose the exercises that allow you to train hard, pain-free. Note, I'm talking about pain-free in the joints. Your muscles should be very fatigued and possibly burning and sore from time to time. All right, next is programming. You need to figure out, it's gonna take some experimentation, but you wanna figure out, like, how does my body do? Whether it's, how many days a week, first of all, but also, do I want to do full body where I'm training every muscle group, just a couple sets on every muscle group every time I come work out, or do I want to do like upper body and lower body? If I'm training 3 days a week, do I want to do upper, lower, full body? Do I want to do push, pull, legs? Like there's lots of ways you can split this up, and there's pros and cons to each. So I'm not going to say definitively one is better than the other, but I would just encourage you to experiment to see, does your body like doing, all upper body and doing more upper body work on one day, and then, all lower body and doing more lower body on the next, or a little bit of everything each time you go in the gym. Just figure out what your body and your joints and your recovery capacity enjoy the most. And now let's wrap it up. I'm going to give you some advice. If you're older, when in doubt, always start with less. This is true for everybody. Start with less, and then you can always do more. All right, so my advice is gonna be train 2 days a week for 30 to 45 minutes. And if you feel good, you do this for several months and you feel good, you may not wanna do more, but if you want to do more, you can experiment with more days, but better to start on the lower end. So start with two days a week for 30 to 45 minutes. Choose exercises that allow you to train hard, pain-free in your joints. Choose a handful, maybe 8 to 10, 8 to 12 exercises that will, between all of them, allow you to train all the major muscle groups in the body. If you're unsure of what to do, I would highly recommend getting with a professional, like an expert personal trainer, like we have at Steel Strength Training, and they can help you choose the right exercises, set up your program in the right way. And then what I would say is start on the lower end of the number of sets. You need to be working hard at your sets with good form, but work hard at those, but start on the lower number of sets, just like we're starting on with just 2 days a week of working out. That's usually enough to get you really, really great progress. But after you do that for several months, if you want to do more, you can. And then I would just encourage you to experiment with the programming. Do you prefer doing upper body, lower body, alternating between those days, or just doing full body every time you're in the gym? And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I recommend when it comes to strength training for old folks.